Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be taking a look at another deck from the 2008 format, and that is going to be a Honchkrow hand control deck. Now, Honchkrow saw a lot of early play in the season, but started falling off around states and regionals due to how popular Gardevoir Glade was, and made a very surprising top 32 appearance at the World Championships from a player. I'm going to butcher the name, but it's Tomi, who ended up in the top 32 playing a variation of the deck that he called Featherweight. Now, I'm going to say the deck was not popular at all at Worlds, but Tomi was able to take this deck, take a variation of it, have a unique twist on the deck, and take it to a top 32 finish. Now, the main strategy of any variation of Honchkrow is essentially going to be you're going to want to open with Absol, use Baleful Wind to destroy your opponent's hand, and then transition into a Honchkrow using Darkwing Flaps to continually get rid of cards in your opponent's hand. Honchkrow level X to use Darkness Wing to get key cards back, and other hand control cards like Team Galactic's Mars. Now, for such a very straightforward deck, I have found the deck to have a lot of really, I'm going to say really interesting kind of nuances in playing it. There's a lot of things where ordering matters. You constantly need to watch your own hand size and try to keep it as low as possible so your opponent doesn't get a good chat top mimic off. And there's certain things like ordering, like where you attach dark energies, special dark energies can make massive amounts of differences in later stages of the game. And then, of course, things like Feint Attack also throw a little bit of a curveball into your strategy, knowing when to use Feint Attack, when to use Darkwing Flaps, when to use Darkness Wing. So for such a straightforward deck, I think it's got some very interesting dynamics to it from a player standpoint. Now, the main strategy of the deck is to control your opponent. Now, I'm going to say there's a couple of different ways to do this. We'll take a look at Tomi's version at the start here. He essentially did, he opted to play the Palkia level X, which had never seen play before this. So this was 100% on him originality, but essentially, not only did he have the hand control, he had the Cessation Crystal, all the advantages of Honchkrow, but he basically added Palkia to also have that gusting effect. And then he played some cards like Warp Energy that gave him some ways to use Restructure without really hurting himself. I played the Palkia variant, and it was good, but at the exact same time, I didn't find... Essentially, I didn't find the Palkia to really swing games. The games literally fell into, I control my opponent and win, I don't control my opponent and lose. And I didn't really feel like the Palkia made massive differences in that. There is some good arguments for it. It's very nice to be able to, like, say, drag up a Claydol and then lock it active with Cessation Crystal and then keep Feint attacking your opponent's bench. Things like that I thought were very strong. But it just didn't feel... the Palkia just didn't really feel like it went into the hand control strategy and didn't really affect the overall outcome of games. This is just my personal opinion. Obviously, he ended up top 32, had a very successful run with the deck. And most of my list, I took a lot of heavy inspiration from him. So a couple of things for mine, I basically said that I wanted to put more towards controlling the opponent. So instead of playing the Palkia, I played 4 energy removal 2. The 2008 format does not have a whole lot of energy acceleration, so essentially 1 ER2 heads equals 1 turn of energy attachments from your opponent. And with a deck where those turn attachments and delaying pressure from your opponent is so key, the energy removal 2 feels very strong. Now, jumping into the cards here, we play 4 Absol. Basically, this is our desired opener. If we open Absol, Cessation Crystal, we're just golden. We're going to sit there, Baleful Wind our opponent until we discard their hand, or until the Absol gets knocked out, and then we'll slowly transition into a Honchkrow. It's also worth noting that raid for 10 damage might not seem overly strong, but if you just played Absol from your hand this turn, it'll do 40, and if you have a special Dark on it, it'll do 50. You do hit some nice numbers with this Absol, and you always want to be on the lookout for raid knockouts. We split the Honchkrow line. We went 3 of the Swarm. This is essentially the stronger Honchkrow opener, where you can grab another Honchkrow from your deck. And then it's actually quite nice to have that hiding crowd attack where if you don't want to pay the energy to retreat the Honchkrow, you can use that hiding crowd to switch it back to your bench on the opponent's turn, on your second turn to protect it. One of the Duststone Honchkrow. This is just situationally useful, not only as a feint attack, very rarely, but could be situationally useful. It's also quite nice if you have a Honchkrow in your hand, you can grab this off like a Celios or a Roseanne's and just slap it down immediately. We split the Honchkrow line into a 2-2. It's worth noting that this has Dark Genes, so as long as Honchkrow has the energy to attack, Honchkrows can use any of the Honchkrow's attacks. This also goes for the level X, so if it is leveled up, not only does it still have the body, but you'll have those 3 attacks to choose from. The problem that I have found with this is against most decks that play Claydol, you basically always want your Honchkrow to have a cessation crystal on it, or whatever is attacking has to have a cessation crystal on it. So you really can't take advantage of the body. And against decks that don't play Claydol, like Blissey, for example, typically they have a cessation crystal in play, so then you can't use the body. We do play a copy of Windstorm in the deck, but that's something that I noted where that body seems so strong, but in reality it's a lot harder to pull off than it seems on paper. 2 Honchkrow level X. The Honchkrow really is that important to the strategy. The feint attack, the darkness wing, the extra 20 HP, and then the free retreat cost all make the Honchkrow level X an absolute must play. I think you can make an argument for 3-1, but I will say the 2-2 line has been playing really well for me. Play a single copy of Unknown Q. Essentially what this does is if you do open with the Unknown Q by itself is a strong opener. So, and then if you open with a Honchkrow and say have a Roseanne's, you can grab an Unknown Q and Absol and then still get your turn 1 Baleful Wind off. This comes up more often than you would think, and I found the Unknown Q to be a really strong play. For Celios Network, just searches out all of our Pokemon. Playing only 2 of the Honchkrow, you do find it kind of hard to draw into it, so you want that high Celios count to be able to search it out. For Mars, the draw 2 is pretty meh, but it's 1 more hand disruption card. Because you choose a card from your opponent's hand without looking at it and put it at the bottom of his or her deck. This in combination with Baleful Wind, you'll be stripping 2 to 3 cards out of your opponent's hand in a single turn. And if you're using Cessation Crystal to shut off Claydol, that can be a considerable number of cards. 3 Castaway. I only play 3. I haven't really missed the 4th in the deck, but essentially you search for a supporter, a tool, and a basic energy card. The 4th one, you seem to have a little bit of diminishing return on it because usually you draw into at least 1 Cessation Crystal naturally, so you're not able to get the full effect of Castaway. Sometimes in the later stages of the game, too, you also run out of basic energy to grab, so it's not quite as strong there. And searching your deck for just a supporter really isn't great. So it's a great card to see in the early game. You get, I'm going to say, diminishing return on it throughout the course of the game, especially in the later stages. 3 Roseanne's. There's really not, once you have your initial setup, there's really not a whole lot you want to search out with it. You have the Castaway to help search out the basic energy. Roseanne's is just to help grab those key basics at the start, or search out energy. 2 Steven's Advice. Steven's Advice is just a very strong draw card in the format. Usually they know you don't play Honchkrow, they'll fill their bench. Usually they'll net you 4, 5, or 6 cards. 2 Wager. This is kind of a reset where if your opponent's hand just gets out of control, you can use it reactively to try to put them back down to a low hand size, try to get that hand under control. Or you can use it proactively at the start of the game, trying to really limit their options, try to get them to down to 3 cards. There's a lot of strategy with rock, paper, scissors I won't cover in this video, but incredibly strong, a strong card for the deck. For ER2, so essentially ER2 is, you basically trade one, and ER2 basically equals 1 turn of energy attachments, so there's not a whole lot of energy acceleration in the 2008 format. So this is just something else that's going to slow your opponent down, delay that pressure they can put on you. And without a hand, it can be very hard for them to draw into additional energy. Recovery cards, we play 1 Night Maintenance. Just a very good generic recovery card. 1 Premier Ball. Once again, you can either use this proactively to search out the Honchkrow from the deck, or reactively to grab it out of the discard pile. I'm not going to say this is essential, but so far I have been liking it. And then 1 Time Space Distortion here. Essentially, we don't play Claydol, so we don't have a lot of draw cards in the deck, so having that Time Space Distortion just to put stuff directly back into the hand can be very strong. You saw this, I believe, with Blissey also, where it was 1 Time Space Distortion, 1 Night Maintenance, and it just gave you a little bit more flexibility. 1 Warp Point in the deck, just a little bit of disruption. Very rarely am I finding myself using Warp Point aggressively. Usually it's just to try to disrupt the opponent a little bit. 1 copy of Windstorm. This serves a couple of different purposes. 1, you can Windstorm your own unknown Q if you have to put it on something you would rather put a Cessation Crystal on later. And then it's also very good in, say, like the Blissey matchup or any opposing Cessation Crystal matchup where you would want to use the Dark Genes Pokebody, where essentially you can protect your Honchkrow for a turn, sending up a Murkrow to attack, and then that Windstorm not only is going to remove 2 of the Cessation Crystals, but also let that Murkrow attack, and then you can of course get that back with Darkness Wing. I think that's one of the strongest. I think that's one of the most interesting choices with the deck, is knowing when to Dark Wing Flaps and then when to Darkness Wing, and then being able to get away with some of these a little bit techier options here, knowing that you can get them back in a situation. 4 Cessation Crystals. Absolutely cannot let your opponent have Claydol. I think one of the most interesting things about this is the easiest counter to Cessation Crystal is going to be Windstorm. Windstorm's an item and falls victim to Absol. So in a typical like Crystal Beach deck or Cessation Crystal deck, your opponent you play 4 Beach, and then your opponent plays, or 4 Cessation Crystal, and then your opponent plays usually some combination of 4 between Windstorm and Stadiums. Against an Absol variant, for example, though, it's very common you might be discarding a Stadium, you might be discarding Windstorms, which is going to tilt the odds in your favor to lock in a Cessation Crystal and a Crystal Beach. 3 copies of Crystal Beach. I played 4 in the deck. I never really understood the 3rd copy until I really started testing the deck, and then basically I just found that I was discarding my opponent's counters too often with Absols, and I really didn't need 4 Beaches to stick one. If I did get in a really close game where I knew I needed an extra Beach, I could always get it back with Darkness Wing. 4 Call Energies. Seems very standard in the deck. I'm going to say, though, I don't find myself using Call very often. In most situations, turn 1, we're trying to get that Absol in play and using Baleful Wind. 4 Darkness Energies. The Special Darks adds 10 damage. Absolutely essential to not only boosting your raid damage, but also your Honchkrow's attacks as well. And then 5 basic Dark Energies. I will say I've tested Warp Energy in the deck. I tested Cyclone Energy in the deck. Just some different disruptive cards, but essentially just having that basic energy was more valuable. Being able to search it out with Castaway or Roseanne's research in the later stages of the game was just simply stronger than having a little bit of disruption through like a Cyclone Energy or Warp Energy. The other variation of the deck I tested, and I'm not sold on the ER2s. I think they're very good, but I'm not completely sold on them. I've also tested a Cresselia level X variation of the deck, which sounds really weird on paper, but the advantage of the Cresselia is essentially if you can get a read that your opponent doesn't have anything good in their hand, you can use Cresselia to future sight your opponent, and essentially they're never going to draw good ever again. And you can use combinations of like Moonlight Stadium, Unknown Q, anything like that to get that free retreat, so you can constantly switching back into the Cresselia and future sighting again. But if your opponent has, let's say, 4 dead cards on the top of their deck and a Steven's Advice, you bury the Stevens, you have 4 free turns, and then you can switch back into the Cresselia, future sight again. It's basically a guaranteed win if you get a Cresselia lock off. But it's a variation of the deck I think I'm going to try to test a little bit more in the future. But other than that, that is going to go ahead, wrap up Honchkrow. It's a very straightforward deck to play, but it has a lot of little nuances to it that I think is going to keep even the most experienced players very interested in the deck. I will say this is probably not going to make you a whole lot of friends, but it is a very fun deck to play. And if controlling your opponent's hand and board sounds like something that you would enjoy doing, I really recommend you give this deck a try. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a lot. And of course, I hope to see you in the next video.